Thanks for tuning in. And as anybody else who may have come to my site for other videos are aware of, I'm also recording slowly the Volume 2 of Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. But it has appealed to me that I'm suddenly started something by reading the Bible, so I better get busy because it could take a year to record this. So the other one will have increments added to it throughout time, but probably not as frequently as the Bible. Okay, I left off at Genesis 32, so we're starting at Genesis 33. In the time Jacob raised his eyes and looked, and here Esau was coming, and with him 400 men. Consequently, he divided off the children to Leah, and to Rachel, and to the 2 separate maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after them, and Rachel and Joseph to the rear of them. And he himself passed on ahead of them, and proceeded to bow down to the earth 7 times, until he got near to his brother. And Esau went running to meet him, and he began to embrace him, and fall upon his neck and kiss him, and they burst into tears. Then he raised his eyes and saw the woman and the children, and said, "Who are these with you?" To which he said, "The children with whom God has favored your servant." At that the maidservants came forward, they and their children, and bowed down, and Leah too came forward, and her children, and they bowed down. And afterward Joseph came forward, and Rachel, and they bowed down. He now said, "What do you mean by all this camp of travelers that I have met?" To this he said, "In order to find favor in the eyes of my lord." Then Esau said, "I have a great many, my brother. Let continue yours what is yours." However, Jacob said, "No, please, if now I have found favor in your eyes, then you must take my gift at my hand, because the harmony with its purpose I have seen your face, as though seeing God's face, in that you received me with pleasure. Take me the gift conveying my blessing, which is brought to you, because God has favored me, because I have everything." And he continued to urge me, so that he took it. Later on he said, "Let us pull out and go, and let me go in advance of you." But he said to him, "My lord is aware that the children are delicate, and sheep and cattle that are giving suck are in my charge, and should they drive them too quickly for one day, then the whole flock will certainly die. Let my lord please pass on ahead of his servant, but may I myself continue the journey at my leisure, according to the place of the livestock that is before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I shall come to my lord at Seir." Then Esau said, "Let me please put at your disposal some of the people who are with me." To this he said, "Why this? Let me find favor in the eyes of my lord." So on that day Esau turned back on his way to Seir, and Jacob pulled out for Succoth, and he proceeded to build himself a house, and for his herd he made booths. That was why he called the name of the place Succoth. In time Jacob came safe and sound to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, while he was coming from Padanaram, and he pitched camp in front of the city. Then he acquired a tract of the field, where he pitched his tent at the hand of the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of money. After that he set up there an altar and called it God, the God of Israel. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Jacob, used to go out to see the daughters of the land. And Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, and chieftain of the land, got to see her, and then look her and lay her down with her, and violated her. And her soul began clinging to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he fell in love with the young woman, and kept speaking persuasively to the young woman. Finally Shechem said to Hamor, his father, "Get me this young lady as a wife." Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter, and his sons happened to be with his herd in the field, and Jacob kept silent until they should come in. Later Hamor, Shechem's father, went out to Jacob to speak with him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field as soon as they heard of it, and the men became hurt in their feelings, and they grew very angry because he had committed disgraceful folly against Israel, in lying down with Jacob's daughter, whereas nothing like this ought to be done. And Hamor proceeded to speak with them, saying, As for Shechem, my son, his soul is attached to your daughter. Give her, please, to him as a wife, and form marriage alliances with us. Your daughters you are to give to us, and our daughters you are to take for yourselves. And with us you may dwell, and the land and will become available for you. Dwell and carry on business in it, and get settled in it. Then Shechem said to her father and to her brothers, Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you will say to me, I shall give it. Raise very high the marriage money and gift imposed upon me, and I stand willing to give according to what you may say to me. Only give me the young woman as a wife. And Jacob's son began to answer Shechem and Hamor, his father, with deceit, and to speak so because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. And they went on to say to them, We cannot possibly do such a thing, to give our sister to a man who has a foreskin, because that is a reproach to us. Only on this condition can we give consent to you, that you become like us, by every male of yours getting circumcised. Then we shall certainly give our daughters to you, and your daughters we shall take for ourselves, and we shall certainly dwell with you, and become one people. But if you do not listen to us to get circumcised, then we will take our daughters and go. And their words seemed good in the eyes of Hamor, and in the eyes of Shechem, Hamor's son, and the young man did not delay to perform the condition, because he did find delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was the most honorable of the whole house of his father. So Hamor and Shechem, his son, went to the gate of their city, and began to speak to the men of their city, saying, These men are peace-loving toward us. Hence let them dwell in the land, and carry on business in it, as the land is quite wide before them. Their daughters we can take as wives for ourselves, and our own daughters we can give to them. Only on this condition will the men give us their consent to dwell with us, so as to become one person, that every male of ours gets circumcised just the way they are circumcised. Then their possessions and their wealth and all their livestock will they not be ours? Only let us give them our consent, that they may dwell with us. Then all those going out by the gate of his city, listened to Hamor and to Shechem his son, and all the males got circumcised, all those going out by the gate of his city. However, it came about that on the third day, when they got to be aching, the two sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, brothers of Dinah, proceeded to take each one his sword, and to go unsuspectedly to the city and to kill every male. And Hamor and Shechem his son they killed with the edge of the sword. Then they took Dinah from Shechem's house, and went on out. The other sons of Jacob attacked the fatally wounded men, and went plundering the city, because they had defiled their sister. Their flocks and their herds and their asses, and what was in the city, and what was in the field they took, and all their means of maintenance, and all their little children and their wives they carried off captive, so that they plundered all that was in the houses. At this Jacob said to Simeon and to Levi, You have brought ostracism upon me in making me a stench to the inhabitants of the land, with the Canaanites and the Perizzites, whereas I am few in number. And they will certainly gather together against me, and assault me, and I must be annihilated, and in my house. In turn they said, Ought anyone to treat our sister like a prostitute? After that, God said to Jacob, Rise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to the true God, who appeared to you when you were running away from Esau your brother. Then Jacob said to his household, and to all who were with him, Put away the foreign gods that are in the midst of you, and cleanse yourselves, and change your mantles, and let us rise and go up to Bethel, and there I shall make an altar to the true God, who answered me in the day of my distress, in that he proved to be with me in the way that I have gone. So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods that were in their hands, and the earrings that were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the big tree that was close by Shechem. After that they pulled away, and the terror of God came to be upon the cities that were round about them, so that they did not chase after the sons of Jacob. Eventually Jacob came to Luz, which is in the land of Canaan, that is to say, Bethel, he and all the people who were with him. Then he built an altar there and began to call the place El Bethel, because there the true God had revealed himself to him at the time of his running away from his brother. Later, Deborah, the nursing woman of Rebekah, died and was buried at the foot of Bethel under a massive tree. Hence she called its name Elon Bakuth. Now God appeared to Jacob once again during his coming from Padanaram and blessed him, and God went on to say to him, "Your name is Jacob. No longer is your name to be called Jacob, but Israel will your name become." And he began to call his name Israel. And God said further to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and become many. Nations and a congregation of nations will proceed out of you, and kings will come out of your loins. As for the land that I have given to Abraham and to Isaac, to you I shall give it, and to your seed after you I shall give the land." After that God went up from above him at the place where he had spoken with him. Consequently Jacob stationed a pillar in the place where he had spoken with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering upon it and poured oil upon it. And Jacob continued to call the name of the place where God had spoken with him, Bethel. Then they pulled away from Bethel, and while there was yet a good stretch of land before coming to Ephrath, Rachel proceeded to give birth, and it was going hard with her in making the delivery. But so it was that while she had difficulty in making the delivery, the midwife said to her, "Do not be afraid, for you will have this son also." And the result was that as her soul was going out because she died, she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin. Thus Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is to say, Bethlehem. Hence Jacob stationed a pillar over her grave. She was a nice person. Why? Oh, it's so sad. This is the pillar of Rachel's grave down to this day. After that, Israel pulled away and pitched his tent a distance beyond the tower of Adar, and it came about, while Israel was tabernacling in that land, that once Reuben went and laid down with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel got to hear of it. So there came to be 12 sons of Jacob. The sons by Leah were Jacob's firstborn, Reuben and Simeon and Levi and Judah and Issachar and Zebulun. The sons by Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. And the sons by Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, were Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah and Leah's maidservant were Gad and Asher. These are Jacob's sons, who were born to him in Padanaram. At length Jacob came to Isaac his father, to Mamre, to Kiriath-arba, that is to say, Hebron, where Abraham and also Isaac and had resided as aliens, and the days of Isaac came to be 180 years. After that Isaac expired and died, and was gathered to his people old and satisfied with days, and Esau and Jacob his sons buried him. And this is the history of Esau, that is to say, Edom. Esau took his wives from the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon, and the Hittite, and Oholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the granddaughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Basemath, Ishmael's daughter, the sister of Nebaioth. And Adah proceeded to bear Eliphaz to Esau. Basemath bore Reuel, and Oholibamah bore Jehush and Jalem and Korah. These are the sons of Esau who were born to him in the land of Canaan. After that Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the souls of his house and his herd and all his other beasts and all his wealth, which he had accumulated in the land of Canaan, and went to a land away from Jacob his brother, because their goods had become too great for them to dwell together, and the land of their alien residences was not able to sustain them as a result of their herds. So Esau took up dwelling in the mountainous region of Seir. Esau is Edom, and this is the history of Esau, the father of Edom, in the mountainous region of Seir. These are the names of the sons of Esau: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, Esau's wife; Reuel, the son of Basemath, Esau's wife. And the sons of Eliphaz came to be Teman, Omar, Zepho, Getam, Kenaz, Timnah, because the concubine Eliphaz, Esau's son. In time she bore to Eliphaz Amalek. These are the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Reuel, Nahath, Zerah, Shammah, Mitzah. These came to be the sons of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these came to be the sons of Oholiabama, the daughter of Anah, the granddaughter of Zibeon, Esau's wife. And that she bore to Esau Jehush and Jalem and Korah. These are the sheiks of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz, Esau's firstborn: Sheik Teman, Sheik Omar, Sheik Zopho, Sheik Kenaz, Sheik Korah, Sheik Getam, Sheik Amalek. These are the sheiks of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. These are the sons by Adah. These are the sons of Reuel, Esau's son: Shek, Nahath, Sheik Zerah, Sheik Shammah, Sheik Mitzah. These are the sheiks of Reuel in the land of Edom. These are the sons by Basemath, Esau's wife. Finally, these are the sons of Oholiabama, Esau's wife: Sheik Jehu, Sheik Jalem, Sheik Korah. These are the sheiks of Oholiabama, the daughter of Anah, Esau's wife. These are the sons of Esau. These are the sheiks. He is Edom. These are the sons of Seir, the Horite, the inhabitants of their land: Lotan and Shobal and Zibeon and Anah and Dishon and Esher and Dishan. These are the sheiks of the Horite, the sons of Seir, in the land of Edom. And the sons of Lotan came to be Hori and Hemam, and Lotan's sister was Timnah. And these are the sons of Shobal: Alvan and Manahath and Ebal, Shapho and Onam. And these are the sons of Zibeon, Elah and Anah. This is the Anah who found the hot springs in the wilderness while he was tending the asses for Zibeon his father. And these are the children of Anah, Dishon and Oholiabama, the daughter of Anah. And these are the sons of Dishon: Hemdan and Ishban and Ithran and Sharan. These are the sons of Ezer: Bilhan and Zevan and Achan. These are the sons of Dishan, Uz and Aran. These are the sheiks of the Horite: Sheik Lotan, Sheik Shobal, Sheik Zibeon, Sheik Anah, Sheik Dishan, Sheik Ezer, Sheik Dishan. These are the sheiks of the Horite according to their sheiks in the land of Seir. Now these are the kings who reigned in the land of Edom before any king reigned over the sons of Israel. And Bela, son of Beor, proceeded to reign in Edom, and the name of his city was Dinahaba. When Bela died, Jobab, son of Zerah from Bozrah, began to reign instead of him. When Jobab died, Husham from the land of Temanites, began to reign instead of him. When Husham died, Hadad, son of Bedad, who defeated the Midianites in the field of Moab, began to reign instead of him, and the name of his city was Avith. When Hadad died, Samlah from Masrekah began to reign instead of him. When Samlah died, Shaul from Rehoboth by the river began to reign instead of him. When Shaul died, Baal-Hanan, son of Akbor, began to reign instead of him. When Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, died, Hadar began to reign instead of him, and the name of his city was Peau, and the name of his wife was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. So, these are the names of the sheiks of Esau according to their families, according to their places. By their names, Sheikh Timnah, Sheikh Alva, Sheikh Japheth, Sheikh Oholiabama, Sheikh Elah, Sheikh Pinon, Sheikh Cana, Sheikh Teman, Sheikh Mibzar, Sheikh Magdiel, Sheikh Iram. These are the sheiks of Edom, according to their dwellings, in the land of their possession. This is Esau, the father of Edom. And Jacob continued to dwell in the land of the alien residences of his father, in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. Joseph, when 17 years old, happened to be tending sheep with his brothers among the flock, and being but a boy, he was with the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, the wives of his father. So Joseph brought a bad report and wrote them their father. And Israel loved Joseph more than all his other sons, because he was the son of his old age, and he had a long striped shirt-like garment made for him. When his brothers came to see that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they began to hate him, and they were not able to speak peacefully to him. Later on, Joseph had a dream and told it to his brothers, and they found further reason to hate him. And he went on to say to them, "Listen, please, to this dream that I have dreamed. Well, here we were binding sheaves in the middle of the field, when here my sheaf got up and also stood erect, and here your sheaves proceeded to encircle and bow down to my sheaf." And his brothers began to say to him, "Are you going to be king over us for certain? Or are you going to dominate over us for certain?" So they found fresh reason to hate him over his dreams and over his words. After that he had still another dream, and he related it to his brothers and said, "Here, I have had a dream once more, and here the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me." Then he related it to his father as well as his brothers, and his father began to rebuke him and say to him, "What does this dream that you have dreamed mean? Am I also your mother and your brothers for certain going to come and bow down to the earth to you?" And his brothers grew jealous of him. But his father observed the saying. His brothers now went to feed the flock of their father close by Shechem. After a while, Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are tending flocks close by Shechem, are they not? Come and let me send you to them." At this he said to him, "Here I am." So he said to him, "Go, please, see whether your brothers are safe and sound, and whether the flock is safe and sound, and bring me back word." With that he sent him away from the low plain of Hebron, and went on toward Shechem. Later a man found him here, and he was wandering in a field. Then the man inquired of him, saying, "What are you looking for?" To this he said, "It is my brothers I am looking for. Tell me, please, where are they tending flocks?" And the man continued, "They have pulled away from here because I heard them saying, 'Let us go to Dothan.'" So Joseph kept on after his brothers and found them at Dothan. They caught sight of him from a distance, and before he could get close by them, they began plotting cunningly against him to put him to death. So they took to one another, "Look, here comes that dreamer. And now come and let us kill him and pitch him into one of the water pits, and we must say a vicious wild beast devoured him. Then let us see what will become of his dreams." When Reuben heard this, he tried to deliver him out of their hands. So he said, "Let us not strike his soul fatally. Let us not." And Reuben went on to say to them, "Do not spill blood. Pitch him into this water pit which is in the wilderness, and do not lay a violent hand upon him. His purpose was to deliver him out of their hand in order to return him to his father. So it came about that as soon as Joseph came to his brothers, they went stripping Joseph of his long garment, even the long striped garment that was upon him, after which they took him and pitched him into the water pit. At the time the pit was empty. There was no water in it. Then they sat down to eat bread. When they raised their eyes and took a look, why, here was a caravan of Ishmaelites that was coming from Gilead, and their camels were carrying labdanum and balsam and resinous bark on their way to take it down to Egypt. At this Judah said to his brothers, "What profit would there be in case we killed our brother and did cover over his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and do not let our hand be upon him. After all, he is our brother, our flesh." So listen to their brother. Now Midianite merchants went passing by. Hence they drew and lifted up Joseph out of the water pit, and then sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites for 20 silver pieces. Eventually, these brought Joseph into Egypt. Later, Reuben returned to the water pit, and here Joseph was not in the water pit. Consensually, he ripped his garments apart. When he returned to his other brothers, he exclaimed, "The child is gone, and where am I really to go?" However, they took Joseph's long garment and slaughtered a male goat, and repeatedly dipped the long garment in the blood. After that, they sent the long striped garment and had it brought to their father and said, "This is what we found. Examine, please, whether it is your son's long garment or not." And he went examining it and exclaimed, "It is my son's long garment. A vicious wild beast must have devoured him. Joseph is surely torn to pieces." With that, Jacob ripped his mantles apart and put sackcloth upon his hips, and carried on mourning over his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters kept rising up to comfort him. But he kept refusing to take comfort and saying, "For I shall go down mourning to my son into Sheol," and his father continued weeping for him. However, the Midianites sold him into Egypt to Potiphar, a court official of Pharaoh, the chief of the bodyguard. Now in the meantime it came about that when Judah went down from his brothers, he pitched his tent near a man, an Adullamite, and his name was Hira. And there Judah got to see a daughter of a certain Canaanite, and his name was Shua. So he took her and had relations with her, and she became pregnant. Later she bore a son, and he called his name Again she became pregnant. In the time she bore a son and called his name Onan. Yet another time she went on to bear a son, and then called his name Shelah. Now he happened to be in Achzib at the time she bore him. In time Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, proved to be bad in the eyes of Jehovah. Hence Jehovah put him to death. In view of that, Judah said to Onan, "Have relations with your brother's wife, and perform brother-in-law marriage with her, and raise up offspring to your brother." But Onan knew that the offspring would not become his, and it occurred that when he did have relations with his brother's wife, he wasted his semen on the earth, so as to not give offspring to his brother. Now what he did was bad in the eyes of Jehovah. Hence he put himself also to death. So Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Dwell as a widow in the house of your father until Shelah my son grows up." For he said to himself, "He too may die like his brothers." Accordingly Tamar went and continued to dwell at her own father's house. Thus the days became many, and the daughter of Shua, Judah's wife, died. And Judah kept the period of mourning. After that he went up to shearers of his sheep, he and Hira as his companion, the Adullamite, to Timnah. Then it was told to Tamar, "Here your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep." With that she removed the garments of her widowhood from her, and covered herself with a shawl, and veiled herself, and sat down at the entrance of Enaim, which is along the road to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah had grown up, and yet she had not been given as a wife to him. When Judah caught sight of her, he at once took her for a harlot, because she had covered her face. So he turned aside to her by the road and said, "Allow me, please, to have relations with you," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. However, she said, "What will you give me, that you may have relations with me?" To this he said, "I myself shall send a kid of the goats from the herd." But she said, "Will you give a security until you send it?" And he continued, "What is the security that I shall give you?" To which he said, "Your seal ring, and your cord, and your rod that is in your hand." Then he gave them to her, and had relations with her, so that she became pregnant by him. After that she got up and went, and removed her shawl off her, and clothed herself with the garments of her widowhood. And Judah proceeded to send the kid of the goats by the hand of his companion to Adulamite, in order to get back the security from the hand of the woman. But he never found her. And he went inquiring of the men of her place, saying, "Where is that temple prostitute in Enaim along the road?" But they kept saying, "No temple prostitute has ever been in this place." Finally he returned to Judah and said, "I never found her. And besides, the men of the place said, 'No temple prostitute has ever been in this place.' So Judah said, 'Let her take them for herself, in order that we may not fall into contempt. At any rate, I have sent this kid, but you never found her.'" However, about 3 months later, it happened that it was told to Judah, "Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot, and here she is also pregnant by harlotry." At that Judah said, "Bring her out and let her be burnt." As she was being brought out, she herself said to her father-in-law, saying, "By the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant." And she added, "Examine, please, to whom these belong, the seal ring and the cord and the rod." And Judah examined them and said, "She is more righteous than I am, for the reason that I did not give her to Shelah my son." And he had no further intercourse with her after that. Now it developed that in the time of her giving birth, there were twins in her belly. Further, it turned out that when she was giving birth, one extended his hand, and the midwife at once took it and tied a scarlet piece about his hand, saying, "This one came out first." Finally, it developed that as soon as he drew back his hand, his brother came out, so that she examined, "What do you mean by this? That you have produced a perennial rupture for yourself." Hence his name was called Perez, and afterward his brother upon whose hand the scarlet piece came out, and his name came to be called Zerah. I think that's it. Maybe I'll try finishing. One more. As for Joseph, he was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, a court official of Pharaoh, the chief of the bodyguard, an Egyptian, got to buy him from the hand of the Ishmaelites, who had brought him down there. But Jehovah proved to be with Joseph, so that he turned out a successful man and came to be over the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master got to see that Jehovah was with him, and that everything he was doing, Jehovah was making turn out successful in his hand. And Joseph kept finding favor in his eyes and waited upon him continually, so that he appointed him over his house. And all that was his he gave into his hand. And it followed that from the time he appointed him over his house and in charge of all that was his, Jehovah kept blessed the house of the Egyptian due to Joseph, and Jehovah's blessing came to be upon all that he had in the house and in the field. Finally he left everything that was his in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what was with him at all except the bread he was eating. Moreover, Joseph grew to be beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. Now after these things, it came about that the wife of his master began to raise her eyes toward Joseph and say, "Lie down with me." But he would refuse, and would say to his master's wife, "Here, my master does not know that what is with me in the house, and everything he has given into my hand. There is no one greater in this house than I am, and he has not withheld from me anything at all except you, because you are his wife. So how can I commit this great badness and actually sin against God?" So it turned out that as she spoke to Joseph day after day, he never listened to her, to lie alongside her, to continue with her. But it happened that on this day, as other days, he went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there in the house. Then she grabbed hold of him by his garment, saying, "Lie down with me." But he left his garment in her hand, and took to flight, and went on outside. So it occurred that as soon as she saw that he had left his garment in her hand, and that he might flee outside, she began to cry out to the men of her house, and to say to them, "Look, he brought to us a man, a Hebrew, to make us a laughingstock. He came to me and to lie down with me, but I began to cry out in the top of my voice, and it followed that as soon as he heard that I raised my voice, and he began crying out, he then left his garment beside me, and took to flight, and went on outside. After that she kept his garment laid up beside her until his master came to his house. Then she spoke to him according to these words, saying, "The Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came to me to make me a laughingstock, but it followed that as soon as I raised my voice and began to cry out, he then left his garment beside me and went fleeing outside. The result was that as soon as his master heard the words of his wife, which she spoke to him, saying, 'Like this and this your servant did to me,' his anger blazed. So Joseph's master took him and gave him over to the prison house, the place where the prisoners of the king were kept under arrest, and he continued there in prison house. However, Jehovah continued with Joseph and kept extending loving kindness to him and granting him to find favor in the eyes of the chief officer of the prison house. So the chief officer of the prison house gave over into Joseph's hand all the prisoners who were in the prison house, and everything that they were doing there he proved to be the one having it done. The chief officer of the prison house was looking after absolutely nothing that was in his hand, because Jehovah was with Joseph, and that he was doing what Jehovah was making it turn out successful. That last sentence, I'll do this again. Jehovah was with Joseph, and what he was doing, Jehovah was making it turn out successful. There. I'll leave off there for today. I've already got one from yesterday that I didn't load for an hour, so you'll have an hour and 40 minutes to listen to for today, and I'll probably come back and do another one later today. The next one will begin at Genesis 40. Genesis chapter 40. Thank you.